Welcome to the show and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Hello, thank you so much. Thank you for having me over.
There are total 21 disabilities given by the officials. That includes everything autism and Down syndrome and ADHD and everything.
It's like we say ADHD, this child is ADHD, this child is autistic. They're on a spectrum. So when you look at them, we're attaching these labels which are very limiting, and these labels are unnecessary. Let us not look at these individuals with labels because they're so limiting, they're so unnecessary.
I would really like to know what exactly is Arpan and main criteria कौन से cover करते हैं वो.
So it basically caters to individuals with intellectual disability. As we say, we provide services to individuals with autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and such intellectual disabilities as termed by the WHO.
The word disability,
Yes.
or maybe I'll say specially abled,
Right.
was first used as Viklang.
And now, very beautifully, they've coined it Divyangjan. India has taken the lead in actually accepting these children and individuals with disabilities. We call them Divyangjan. Everywhere else they are called individuals with disabilities and all these other sorts of names.
Is it like a organization which teaches children, or is
Yes,
it
so we run 3 parallels. One is our special education. This is essentially functional education, and now we are going to go on to get them certification through the board, which is NIOS, which you call the homeschooling. Besides that, we run a daycare center for those with severe and profound disabilities, and then we have the skill training center, the vocational skill training center, where we equip them with certain skills, vocational skills, which they can carry forth in their lives and start earning a living.
right? And what is the vision of this trust? Like, what are the future goals?
We want to work towards enabling and empowering them such that they can fit into society and they become acceptable part of society.
Right.
It should not just be compassion that is the driving force. Actually, people should want them to be there for their abilities and fit into societies and professions. We've tried to place a number of students in various job profiles also, and very proudly we can say we have 2 of our girls working at Taj in the housekeeping department.
I would really like to know about your own personal life story, which is so inspiring.
I was in this little hill station, Mount Abu, where I was studying, and we used to be taken on Sundays for social work with the nuns, where we used to go and interact with villagers. That's when we just had to talk. We used to try and find solutions and go back and give our solutions. We could do this for this lady or that for that little child. And so that's where we started understanding the problems of the community that is, largely.
Like, what is the best achievement so far for the Urban Trust?
For the trust, you mean, or individually?
Even as you as a person also. But
when I go to Taj just recently, and I was sitting in the HR's office who was supported our entire project, that's Miss Pooja. She called for this, our girl Hetal, and oh my God, I was all teary-eyed looking at this girl, because seeing her in the shape that she was like a miracle for me, because this girl who was very quiet and very, very obedient, she used to keep doing her thing in Arpan when I had initially entered, has now grown into, she was talking to us so confidently, and that confidence was like, oh my God, that was the biggest miracle that had come down on me on that day. I mean, you can't really tell the difference between their neurotypical employees and these neurodiverse. They're so beautifully accepted into their fold.
so what if God gave you a superpower for a day? Like, how would you use it for your children?
I would like to identify all the best skills of these children so that, we can work towards those and equip them ultimately. I mean, I would all want it to happen in a line in a day. Okay, like a switch.
Hi, welcome to the show, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me over.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
So, I'll ask you about Urban Trust as you work for Urban, and I would really like to know what exactly is Urban and what is it main criteria कौन से cover करते हैं वो. So yeah.
So, Arpan Charitable Trust, as we call it, it is a center for children and adults with multiple disabilities.
Right.
When we say multiple disabilities, we cater to children and adults, we would say individuals, because we have a very varied age group. You know, from we have children from 6 years to adults of 40 years.
Wow.
So this was started in about 31 years back in 1993 by two very passionate founder members, and very lovingly brought to this stage, you know, where we could very comfortably take over and add the new researches, the newness to it, and, you know, take it forth. So it basically caters to individuals with intellectual disability, as we say. So we provide services to individuals with autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and such intellectual disabilities as termed by the WHO. But we would like to call them neurodiverse, you know, removing those labels. So that is essentially what our goal in this year and the coming years to be is to try and look at these individuals without their labels. Like we say ADHD, this child is ADHD, this child is autistic. They're on a spectrum. So when you look at them, we're attaching these labels which are very limiting, and these labels are unnecessary. So this Independence Day, when we were celebrating, that was our message. As a center, we wanted to send out the message to all the guests present, you know, who would of course take it further from there, that you know, let us not look at these individuals with labels, because they're so limiting, they're so unnecessary. And let us look at the abilities in them, because they have numerous abilities. It is just, you know, unfortunate on our part that we do not have enough tools to be able to recognize those skills and abilities in these children. And we require you know, a very specialized staff to work with these individuals. For them, like occupational therapists, we need a clinical psychologist on board, we need a neurologist, we need a pediatrician, we need a developmental pediatrician, a speech therapist, to actually identify these issues in individuals with intellectual disabilities, because they do suffer with a lot of other comorbidities which need to be identified. And at the same time, you know, when we look at the good side of it, they have very specific skill sets. So identifying those becomes very, very essential for us, so that we can work upon those, and then we can groom these children into really becoming, you know, that special part of society, which ideally is necessary to support them further.
I recently read, I think yesterday only, that there are total 21 disabilities given by the officials.
Yes.
That includes everything: autism and, you know, Down syndrome and ADHD and everything. So I'm sure there must be various kind of children and people coming all together.
Absolutely,
you know.
Yes. It's a very diverse spectrum. You know, that's what I said. That's why, because to deal with this diversity, that's why I say it requires a very, very specialized and technical staff to be able to identify the different needs of these children. We say needs as in these children need those tools from our end, and that support from our end, where we can, bring them up to be individuals, really empowered and enabled individuals to fit into what we call our normal society. Again, a label.
Right. Is it like a organization which teaches children, or is
Yes,
it?
so we run three parallels. One is our special education. We provide special education. This is essentially functional education, and now we are going to go on to get them certification through the board, which is NIOS, which you call the homeschooling.
Yeah.
So gradually, we are trying to equip our students with. What certificates would take them further in life. Besides that, we run a daycare center for those with severe and profound disabilities, where we constantly engage them in activities, so they live their life at least in a relatively more quality way. So one is the special education, one is the daycare, and then we have the skill training center, the vocational skill training center, where we take up about we teach them 2 to 3 skills in a year and equip them with certain skills, vocational skills, which they can carry forth in their lives and start earning a living, even if they are back at home, because these children need a lot of, and adults need a lot of monitoring throughout their lives, and they need a support system. So that some of them, I wouldn't say all of them, but some of them are very, very independent also.
So do they live together for 24 hours? Do you have that setup?
No, we don't have that setup, and we don't even recommend it usually for these individuals, because what we want for them is, so they come to us around 9 o'clock. We have them up to almost till 4, where we take care of their education, their therapies, their skill training. So therapies include whatever is recommended to them by a clinical psychologist or their neurologist, in terms of sensory integration, occupational therapy. Cerebral palsy children need physiotherapy. There are some who need counseling. So all these, we try to give them all these services under one roof, everything related to neurodiverse individuals. And the reason we are not looking at a hostel setup or some residential setup for these children, or we don't recommend it, is it's very essential for these individuals to be with the family as well, because they are the very sensitive kinds, so they can be groomed beautifully with love, and they need to have that comfort of their homes.
Yes.
That is the main thing that will add a lot of value in their lives. So
and how long is that therapy? Is it for, like, as you mentioned that you have different age groups,
right?
So now students might go, but maybe a person of 40 who's having this thing. So how long is that, or is that a personal wish or family's wish? How does that work?
Wish for the therapy?
Yeah.
No.
How long?
So these therapy recommendations come either from a clinical psychologist when they draw out the psychometric test reports, or the psychology reports as we call them, and or they come from the neurologist that they are visiting, or the developmental pediatrician. So we try to integrate these therapies. Usually there might be one child who might need speech therapy and occupational therapy together. There might be another child or adult who just needs occupational therapy or just sensory integration. Like I said, cerebral palsy children with their some disabilities need a little bit of physiotherapy to help them, even with their gross motor skills. So those recommendations come from very, very specialized
okay, like
people.
how
Yes.
long do they continue? For example, a child has come for a speech therapy. So how long will...
So again, therapy sessions are depending on the requirement of that individual. It could be ranging from 20 minutes to 30 minutes to slightly a little more. But usually what I see is it doesn't go over 30 minutes. Yes, it's not
like that. For
recommended.
example, a child
Okay,
has
the time period.
yeah,
That depends. It takes quite a while to reach. There are smaller goals. That's why these therapists keep smaller goals, and they work towards those more achievable goals. It takes quite a while. It could take from months to actually years. to reach that point where we feel okay, now this child is able to express himself or herself, that's. And the most important part we feel where our system lacks is we still, like I said, we don't have the tools to enable or equip them with the right skills. There are so many who are not able to express themselves, and that's where the frustrations set in.
Right.
Not just for the individual, also for the family and the people around them, because they don't have the vocabulary to tell you what they are going through or what they want. Can we imagine what life would be without being able to even try and explain where you are or what you feel about the world around you? That's what they are going through.
Right. And what is the vision of this trust? Like, what are the future goals?
So that's what we as a management want to try and contribute to this particular community of intellectually disabled individuals, neurodiverse, I would say again, to correct myself. We want to work towards enabling and empowering them such that they can fit into society and they become acceptable part of society.
Right.
It should not just be compassion that is the driving force. Actually, people should want them to be there for their abilities and fit into societies and professions for the sake of their abilities rather than what their limitations are. So we've tried to place a number of students in various job profiles also. We have done a study of their skill sets and then rigorous training of a number of months. And very proudly we can say we have 2 of our girls working at Taj in the housekeeping department.
Wow.
And of course, I would say at this point, it's all about a team that we make in the community, where even we get support from places like this Taj Vivanta, and we have another company, Almin Extrusion, which has supported us hugely in the intake of our individuals. So they're setting a huge example. A lot of other people can also approach and be this inclusive. Again, inclusive, I find it a very, very a tag which is again labeling, because inclusion also means you're looking at them with a view of being separate from them. So I would say rather let us all accept them
as they are.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Like as you
and
are
into our fold.
Right. As you are a huge part of this trust, like what is your role and responsibility towards it?
The trustees have been so generous to trust me with the entire running of the center. I've been very, very fortunate, because I had been looking at doing something in, something which was more satisfying and purposeful. And I think I found my calling, and the trust board at Arpan has been so generous and trusting of me that they've left all the reins of the entire management in my hands. So I'm literally running the center now.
Okay, I would really like to know about recent projects, because I were just talking that children make rakhis.
Oh yes.
Diyas during Diwali.
Yes. And beautifully so. All of them are involved in the nice, these tying of these knots, and they kind of, because their focus is so strong and so good that they can continue one activity for quite a while and they will not get bored.
Is it?
Yes. So that is their special.
Unique,
That's their special something, and that's why we call them specially abled and differently abled and all these wonderful terms. Yes. So coming back to what you just asked. So they've been making rakhis and diyas for a very, very long time. Like I said, this is a 31-year old organization, and people have brought it up with so much love and care. That they have enabled, the earlier management has also enabled these children in these skill sets where they were already making rakhis, and we make cards. Our children make greeting cards. We take prints of those. They paint very well. So and we also do the Diwali diyas, which are a
Yeah.
very, very popular part of Arpan since many, many years, since decades. So we have clients, those returning clients, they keep coming back to us time and again because of the quality we give. And we, even now, we work hugely on the aesthetics of it, because we don't want people to buy it out of compassion or pity for these individuals. We want them to buy it because they love what they've created.
Yes.
So we've added a lot of other skill, vocational products that they make. One of them is beaded jewelry making. Our glass strings are very popular. Our girls, those little fine beads, they work so well with it.
You
And
just showed me. It was
yes.
so beautiful, so beautiful.
So we're getting requests from Netherlands and other places where they want to keep these things, but we have to work in volumes in that case. So yes, and recently we are in the process of setting up a candle making project also, and we get a huge support in this case from the United Way of Baroda. They support our skill training center in a big way. That is why we are able to, like I said, at least help them acquire 2 to 3 skills in a year. So last year we worked on, our children worked on MDF sheets jewelry making, also beaded jewelry making, which we now sell around the Navratri time. We go to various galleries and exhibitions selling these. They're into chocolate making. They also make little muffins. So we try and teach them these kitchen skills also. So they are kind of more of a help at home rather than what they were seen as earlier, like a burden. They're more now
Are helpful
a support
yeah.
in the house as well.
Nice. Like as you manage everything, right? There are so many things in a one go, just make it settle in a way. So do you feel like, or do you face any challenges during such times where you execute plans and projects?
Oh, of course. Like I said, with these individuals, the biggest challenge is to find the right therapists, the right specialized staff that we require to actually even understand them, to be able to work with them. So that is a big challenge, and unfortunately we do not have any institute here or any institution that actually caters to things like special education. We don't have specialized educators at times when we are looking for them, and speech therapists, occupational therapists. There's a huge dearth in our town for these specialized staff. Yes,
Right.
that's the biggest challenge we face, and we want to give so much to these individuals, but of course we need support from them first.
Like, what is the best achievement so far for the Urban Trust?
Oh God, for the trust you mean,
Yes.
or individually?
Even as you as a person also.
So I think I came in about 3 years back. I can talk about these 3 years, and in these 3 years, our biggest achievement has been that we've been able to place children in conducive jobs, and today they are earning their own living. That was unthought of for the parents also. So they keep coming back to us with so much joy, because they never imagined. 2 of our boys have completed, now they soon in October completing 2 years of service in aluminium extrusion, like I said.
Wow.
Yes, so that's like it was unimagined for the parents, for the individuals themselves. And these 2 girls at Taj, I will just relate very briefly about the time, and I really want to thank Vivanta by Taj and their entire team for supporting us in such a way where the 2 girls have found a beautiful placing in their team. So, you can't really tell the difference between their neurotypical employees and these neurodiverse. They're so beautifully accepted into their fold. So when I go to Taj just recently, and I was sitting in the HR's office, who was supported our entire project. That's Miss Pooja. She and I was sitting, and she called for this our girl Hetal, and oh my God, I was all teary-eyed looking at this girl, because it was, I mean, seeing her in the shape that she was it was like a miracle for me, because this girl who was very quiet and very, very obedient, she used to keep doing her thing in Arpan when I had initially entered, has now grown into, she was talking to us so confidently, and that confidence was like, oh my God, that was the biggest miracle that had come down on me at that on that day. It was just amazing. I still can't get over that moment, because it felt so good. It felt
Fulfilling.
out of the world. It was completely fulfilling, and I felt, oh my God, all these 3 years of everything that we've put into this place is all so worth it, when that one child finds such a good placement and has grown into such a beautiful individual altogether. So, and these children are completely non-manipulative. That's their best quality. They are such beautiful souls, and that's the beauty. We'll all have our layers, right?
Yes.
Our neurotypical, very normal people, as we call ourselves, we all have layers, and these children don't.
They are just pure.
They are God's children. They are so pure, they're so honest. They will come to you and tell you things as it is. So they are actually your mirror. Oh God. And we have such amazing moments, all of us, the entire staff at Arpan. It's like these little milestones when our children reach, these individuals, when they reach, whether big or small, doesn't matter. A boy of say 20-year-old will have just started using the spoon. These are activities of daily living. Some don't have not had the training for that, and they just beginning to achieve these little milestones, and the teacher will come running to, the educator will come running to tell me, madam, aaj usne apni spoon se khaya. And it's like, oh wow, we are celebrating that moment of that boy Chirag who has started eating with a spoon. Oh God, I couldn't be in a better place, I feel.
I guess
I'm the
that's
happiest there.
the true achievement, no, in a very real
Absolutely.
sense. And how
Achievement, and there's so much self-satisfaction. There's so much love, because all they have to give is love. You could be whatever you are. They don't judge. They'll just come back to you with equal fervor, equal happiness, equal joy every day. You would have shouted at them the previous moment, and the next moment they were like, oh, they come and hug you, give you a tight hug.
Wow.
So, they're
So how did you ended up? Oh, how did you ended up in Arpan, and like why?
So yeah, through this happened through a very, very dear friend. We used to talk a lot about what I wanted to do. I was into education, into an integrated school earlier, and I used to keep telling him, I want to do something something beyond this. I'm done doing this, so I want to probably maybe work with street children and get into some setup where I can contribute more than this, what I'm already doing. Because here people have everything. I want to go and do something where there are challenges, where people need us. And this was, we were talking about this off and on, and that's the time, somewhere in the middle, and I had a brief bout of illness where I got time to sit back and think my life out. And it was during that time that I really craved for something more to do, because you don't know when life is going to end. And that's when it makes you rethink your entire life and what you want to actually do and find your purpose. Many people might disagree with finding the purpose thing, but I always felt I had still not found my calling. So in such a time when I was in a sabbatical, this very dear friend who I used to keep talking to, he's a trustee at Arpan. So he happened to tell me that, would you be interested in doing something here? And I was like, yes, of course. And I had no technical knowledge of this little community, but I said I want to do something, and that's how I entered. They'd taken me as an administrator.
Okay.
I started out like that. I joined initially only for 3 hours, but I think only the first day did I ever work for 3 hours. It always extended into 6 or 7 hours, and then that has been the journey. Now there are there's no time for me. I'm working probably sometimes throughout the day because I love it. Right. It's not that I'm working. I love what I'm doing. And I think today, in today's world, there's so much talk of do what you love. So I've been very fortunate to I feel privileged to be able to do this, what I wanted to do. So I've never felt like I am doing something for these individuals. It's always been like they give me so much satisfaction. This work gives me so much happiness that my life feels complete around
I can
them.
see so much of love in your eyes.
Yes, and I think that's what these individuals need. They give so much, and we just have to give the same back. And I always felt like, because you're saying this, I always used to keep telling my friends, I have so much love to give, okay? I have so much love to give, but I don't know where to give it. And now I've found the place for it.
Right. And the word disability,
Yes.
or maybe I'll say specially abled,
Right.
was first used as Viklang.
Yes.
And
And now, very beautifully, they've coined it Divyangjan.
Yes.
Okay, so I think there was one special educator who was in connection with one of our other trustees, and she'd come to take a brief session with us. She said India has taken the lead in actually accepting these children and individuals with disabilities. We call them Divyangjan, and whereas everywhere else they are called individuals with disabilities and all these other sorts of names. But look at this, I mean, we've coined a beautiful word, Divyangjan.
Exactly.
So no more Viklang, but Divyang. Divyang.
Yes, exactly. And
that is the truth. They do have so much of divyata within them. You can see it through when you're working with them, or our entire staff. Actually, however metaphysical I might sound, but the fact is, every time we as a staff, when we get together for our review meetings, we always discuss how much the universe gives us because we are working with them. In all the other areas of our lives, there's so much that the universe takes care of because we are caregivers to these beautiful souls.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's
as so much, you are a giver, that वो दिखता है आपकी बातों में, आपके actions में. So what if God gave you a superpower for a day? Like, how would you use it for your children? Any superpower, like whatever you want.
Let me see.
Anything.
Give me a moment.
Yeah, it's fine. Take your moment.
Because there's so much I cannot do in a day.
Like any one thing to just start with that,
Okay, if I had a superpower given by God, I would like to identify all the best skills of these children so that, we can work towards those and equip them ultimately. I mean, I would all want it to happen in a line in a day. Okay, like a switch, quickly, something has come to me.
But that might happen. No, you have a superpower. So
Yes.
Like that.
And those who can't express themselves, I would want them to start talking and telling us whatever they want, not just us, their parents and everybody, and just be free of that limitation.
Right. Like
It's like, we feel so claustrophobic when we are not able to talk and express. And not being able to do that for an entire life is unimaginable. It's even difficult to understand what they're going through within.
Right. As we had a talk off camera also. Yes. I know that you had your personal crisis too at some point of time. I would really like to know about your, comeback and your own personal life story, which is so inspiring.
Thank you. So, comeback, as in it was a very, very brief illness that I'd had. But even before that, right from childhood, we've seen my mother being very compassionate. She's been a very, very kind soul. And sometimes we used to tell, oh my God, you're so naive. You just don't understand. You want to do everything for the entire world. The house help and even those who just walked into our house. She always wanted to go out of her way and do this and set up somebody into a house. And this a very compassionate soul. And that's where I think we three sisters and all of us have a bit of that in us. So my sister works with animals, and another sister again is a very compassionate soul. She tries to do a lot for the education of those who can't afford it. And I got this. So also after a family, I went to a boarding school. So I've been a lot among nuns. I was in a convent boarding school. So that's where the seed was actually sown, because we used to go to a lot of I was in this little hill station, Mount Abu, where I was studying, and we used to be taken on Sundays for social work with the nuns, where we used to go and interact with villagers, and that's when we just had to talk. They didn't want us to do anything. All the other work, the referrals, all the other help the nuns gave, but these little students, we used to go talk to them, and just talk. And that's when we started coming together, and as batchmates we used to discuss this much later after coming back from that little setup of the town or village. And we used to come and say, she had a sad story to tell. Her son has done this, and this old lady this way. So these things kind of started working on our minds very early in life, and we used to try and find solutions and go back and give our solutions. We could do this for this lady, or that for that little child. And so that's where we started understanding the problems of the community that is largely ignored. So or probably not noticed, maybe not ignored, I would say, maybe not noticed. We're so busy in our own lives and in our job profiles and our work that we barely get the time to look at that side of society. So we really got into that system, and we started working with them. So that was when we started thinking about them and their issues and their problems, and that they were dealing with so much. So, I mean, throughout my life, I always wanted to do something for, those who could not manage what we can today. So that's how it started. I began, and then of course, like I said, this little sabbatical gave me time, and then I was like, okay, I'm done doing all these things. Now I really want to do something more meaningful, and meaningful in the sense not in the eyes of the society. I wanted to do something which was fulfilling to myself. Within, I should feel okay, I've done something today. And that sense of fulfillment I get each day today. Each day in the past 3 years has been like that.
That was my next question. That what motivates you every day, to go to this job? Because you are also a human, sometimes takes a toll on your mental health as well. You also have your personal life.
Oh, not at all.
Right.
I feel so when I was entering this space, my mother cautioned me. She said, just be careful, and a couple of friends also, that you don't get all depressed being
Yeah.
with them. But contrary to that, I will tell you, these children are such happy beings. When I entered that space, the way they accept you, and it is I mean, a different world altogether, and you are learning so much from them daily,
Because
on a
the
daily
fact-
basis.
yeah,
They
yeah.
take everybody to be their own, and that is
Right.
what they teach you. I think they are the closest to the universe and the closest to nature, because
Because they are not aware about negativity at all. They are
at
very
all.
raw.
They cannot process the layers that we have, that ये मुझे इस पर्पस से ऐसा बोल रहे होंगे कि मैं, वो लोग अगर शॉप में जाते हैं तो कोई शॉप वाला उनको ठगने के लिए कुछ करेगा, तो इनको समझ ही नहीं है. ये तो अच्छा काका सारू तो તમે આ લઈ લો, okay, you want this, fine, 50 rupees, 50 rupees. So they just that they just plain simple beautiful.
Right.
So that's what motivates me. They motivate me every day. These 120 individuals at Arpan, every day up in the morning, and I'm like, I want to go. I have not felt like taking one day off. And I mean, my family knows that. And I must say that I'm so thankful to my son and my husband also, who I've taken a lot of time out from the family, and I still do. And they have never objected to that. So that has been my driving force in a huge way, because my son also understands it, and my son feels proud of it. He's so happy. He's like, okay, you go, I'll manage my day. So that has been a huge support to me. They've never ever complained about the time that I give here.
Right. What is happiness according to you? Like,
Happiness is love and acceptance. I feel acceptance, not just of individuals like we are talking right now in context of Arpan, but I feel acceptance of the life you're given. Happiness is that. Once acceptance comes, happiness just flows in automatically, because you live each day so fully. It's only why are we dissatisfied and unhappy is because we can't accept what is coming our way. So I feel love is a huge giver. So I think love and acceptance.
I think I've heard so much about Arpan and those children. Now I want to visit it one day.
Certainly, we would love you to come there.
Please, I would.
They
like
would
to-
love it. They love to mix with people. We humans are social beings, and they love to see visitors who are accepting of them, who are loving, and who are interacting with them. So when we're talking about individuals who are older, okay, they are physiologically and physically, they've matured.
Yes.
Individuals. Only intellectually, or the IQ that we call, is like say 8-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, but they want to be treated as mature older human beings. It's a need. And so when people interact with them, they're extremely happy and joyful. They love to see visitors. They love to interact with them, ask them questions. They also want to grow their area of awareness. So I do see these kind of needs that they have. They want to talk and interact, and they want appreciation, everything just like us.
Wow.
Yeah. So we would love you to come. Please come.
Like, my pleasure. I
Come
would
on.
love to visit it one day and see how it all works.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What are
It
the
is worth.
yeah. What are the values and the systems that you teach to your children? Then.
So of course, etiquettes is one big part, because when we want them to be socially compatible, like I said, these children need a lot of training. So we are looking at, when we talk about integrating them in society, we have to see that they are not just slightly functionally educated, they should also be financially independent, and they should be socially compatible.
Extremely
They don't
important.
have these skills because
Yes.
if they are not trained in it. So that is a big part of our curriculum. We teach them the activities of daily living and the life skills. In the value systems, it goes without saying that we want them to know everything, the right values that the society has, the accepted way of living. We would want them to have everything, but actually in a way they already have it all. They are themselves very kind human beings. They will immediately want to share their things. So we don't really have to teach them those values. Those are just naturally in them. And because they have not in many places found acceptance, so they're already very quietened people. So they will not intrude, they will not make too much noise. They'll be just quiet and calm. So that's being calm and being composed is another value, and they are already that. We as a society has already taught them that. We've made them that way.
Yes, exactly. What is your learning as a person with, these children, specially able children?
Every day every day, just to give love and to be what you are. I feel just be whatever you are, be the best version of yourself. That is it. It doesn't have to have, you don't have to have milestones to reach, you don't have to be a certain way. And they teach us a lot of acceptance because they accept each other so beautifully. They have no problem with each other. One child in a corner will be shouting and screaming, and the others are just composed. They know, okay, going through a sensory issue or something, and it'll settle.
Wow.
So every day is a learning, not just for me, even the staff who has been at Arpan since 30 years. Every day they are learning something, because here every child is different. Every child comes with a very, very special quality or a bunch of qualities. So they are our teachers. They teach us a whole lot of things.
Right. So thank you so much for being here. It was my pleasure listening to you.
Thank you for having me over. And everybody around me tells me you talk so much about Arpan and the children over there, but I just can't stop talking about that. And you've given me that scope.
It comes out of love, no?
Yes,
it comes out of
yes.
love. So it is natural.
It just happens. Like I say, Arpan happened to me. So now Arpan is happening to everybody. Whoever comes in touch with me.
I hope that I also visit it very soon.
I'm looking forward to.
Right. We'll meet there for sure.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over.
Thank you.